We need to build a fortress of focus with clear digital boundaries.
Indeed, the power of presence and single tasking is paramount. In today's digital world, our online presence is a reflection of who we are. It's crucial to cultivate healthy digital habits.
Build a fortress of focus. Set specific times for emails and social media. Be present with loved ones. Put phones away.
Topic, and I'm glad you were bringing it up, because think about it this way, that it is through the lens of attention that we interact with the world. And whatever we learn, whatever communication we have, our memory, our executive functions, everything we do really is through this interface of attention. And if that attention span is shrinking, which is the case based on all the evidence we see, then our ability to regulate our presence, to be mindful, to be here, and to be able to sustain our attention enough time, enough duration of time, in order to communicate with people, in order to learn, in order to be present in the moment and not be all over the place, to really process what is happening in the here and now, and which is also the basis for learning. So if we're not present, if we're not really paying attention, learning doesn't occur. And I think that we are dealing with a crisis in the world right now because of how we have entered a new era of basically micro attention episodes, meaning that when we have our devices that we're on, whether it's a smartphone or iPad, every aspect of information or what the stimuli that comes towards us, because of the attention span of people, but also because of how they're engineered, they are short episodes of information that is training our brain in some ways to have somewhat ADD, because we're no longer used to paying attention for a long time. If you look at films, movies, or any media content from, let's say, few decades ago and compare it to today, you will see that the shot or the way that the visual information is presented, and the auditory as well, keeps changing, and that level of attention being kind of shortened because we need more stimulation, more reward, more dopamine, and we get exhaustion within those systems that are. Absolutely. I think that the way that these algorithms work, they are really optimized for getting our attention for short bursts of time, and kind of that dopamine reward that is really not supposed to be there. And by exercising that network and kind of getting these short bursts of dopamine, in that way, we're really not training our brain and the attention network to be able to sustain attention, which is really needed for many meaningful activities in life. And that obviously is not great.
So even when you go to social media, basically all the algorithms, they basically showing us what we want to see, right? And we're like getting engaged like really, really easy, and we can stay there just for hours just to watch like very simple nonsense content. And we're literally getting so much garbage, right? And that ruins our attention. So for us, it's very hard to state something like we consider it boring without like multiple changes in the scene, multiple like engaging moments. We're losing.
And really, those changes, to your point, and those changes and those overstimulations and attention grabbing kind of episodes, the problem is also they're also meaningless. There's no real useful message behind most of them. Like if you're grabbing my attention and you have something meaningful to say, I'm all there. But if you're grabbing my attention to sell me, I don't know, junk food or junk whatever, because of, you know, how those algorithms are designed, then as a human being, I'm in trouble, because we're now training generations of people who are going to be hooked on these short-term rewards that really deliver garbage to our attention system, to our entire psychophysiological makeup.
Yes, let's talk a little bit about medical side and wellness side of it. Like, okay,
Yes.
from what do we know from the medical perspective? What happens to us when we watch, when we consume this garbage content, when we consume this highly engaging?
Yeah. Sure. So let me just put it in perspective. You know, when it comes to attention, we have certain networks in the brain. So, for instance, we have an alertness network, which is kind of maintaining our state of readiness, which is parts of the frontal lobe and the parietal cortex. Then we have an orienting network. So that was alertness, readiness. This is orientation. The orienting network that basically decides to select specific information that hopefully believes is meaningful to survival or for improvement of human condition, right? And these are also mostly in the parietal lobe. And then we got the executive control network. These are parts of our brain, mainly the anterior cingulate and prefrontal cortex, that are managing goal-oriented behavior, like what's going to be goal-oriented behavior, that, you know, you have a goal and then you basically maintain attention and momentum to achieve those goals. So in a way that when you start to deliver overstimulation without really having goal-oriented behavior, or really reinforcing the ability to be present, to process information, then we're really training our brain to be more like ADD or ADHD kind of brain. And we've done a lot of work at our clinic. As you know, we see a lot of children, young adults, and even adults with ADD and ADHD. And by the way, the ADHD, the H in the ADHD is the hyperactivity. Otherwise, many other symptoms are the same, such as inattention, distractibility, the inability to sustain attention for a long time, and impulse control is also involved often in that. And when we look at the brain of people, when we do our brain mapping, quantitative EEG, there are specific patterns that we find. We see a lot of elevated frontal slow activity. We see reduced fast activity in the frontal lobe and other areas. And we also see other patterns that basically suggest that the parts of our brain that are really supposed to be online and present to be involved in decision-making, like paying attention, orienting, and then decision-making towards a specific goal, these parts of the brain become less and less active. And in a way, the way our social media, these devices, and how our even movie industry is going today, content for sure, is training our brain to be more like ADD brains. Now, I have to say, well, there are certain...
So the social media trains us to be sick.
Well, that's one way to put it. It is... and I'm not suggesting, oh, there is an evil plan to do that. But
yes,
as a consequence of focusing so much on short-term reward, we're training a generation, including ourselves and the next generation. We are evolving as species in a way with shorter attention spans.
What are medical symptoms of ADHD? Because it's not we're just talking about now like attention, but when people actually get ADHD or like short attention span, there's a medical consequences. As I know, people get like
Absolutely.
they had hard time with emotional regulation, right?
Yes.
What
Yes,
else?
it's that, but
Sleep,
also
talking, right?
distractibility. It could also lead to impulse control issues, again, which is
Stress, more
part of
stressful,
more
right?
stress. And really, the inability, I think the biggest loss is the inability to be in the moment and really experience life as it is, because that's ultimately mindfulness, our ability to
Can
be
it
present.
drive to depression? Can it drive to depression?
I believe so, yes. I think that basically when you train for short-term rewards and kind of dopamine exhaustion, then yeah, our sense of well-being and our ability to really gain pleasure from normal activities in life diminishes, and that can lead to depression in certain individuals who already maybe are susceptible to it.
Yes. I mean, so it's a big concern with like
Absolutely.
real.
The good news is that we have interventions and we have methods that we can actually retrain and rewire the brain and teach those networks how to become more efficient, how to sustain attention, how to have more executive control, how to be more flexible. And that can be done through neurotechnology. We do that at our clinic. Vital Neuro, as I have mentioned, is another device that can actually help, train that kind of attention regulation and so forth.
What tips would you give for the prevention?
I would say, so number one is taking breaks from social media, smartphone, like not having it close to you at night next to your bed, like having more regimented rather than it has become a habit for us just to pick up, including myself. We just pick it up and we're looking for basically some kind of interaction with this world of social media, that it has become a routine, an automated task that sometimes, many times, actually doesn't really have a purpose. It has become a habit to be engaged with that. So to really make it more regimented, to be goal oriented, and to do it for a purpose. When you need something, you go to it, but not to go to it when you're bored, because maybe there are other ways to regulate and teach your attention and your brain to be present in the moment. Because when we're here, we're really disconnecting from many important things in life.
Is there any recommendations in terms of how many minutes, how many hours it's healthy to use?
I
Is
would
there?
need to, yeah, I would need to look at the recent research on that, because
Mhm,
those things are changing at the speed
mhm.
that technology is changing. But
Yeah.
a couple of tips I can give is any exercise that you can do to improve self-regulation, attention regulation, such as meditation, such as having discipline, that when you're working on something and there's a distraction or email or text, to allow yourself to ignore it and to continue the task at hand and finish that and then go to it. So this is a very practical way of doing it. But also there are tools today for attention training. There are ways to train your attention, and those tools can also actually be quite helpful for brain training that can
So
improve that.
in those tools, basically, you have to put effort.
Yes. Yes. In other words, those tools are similar to physical exercise where you need to put effort, right? But they are for brain training. So the same attention you give to your physical body, like I know probably this morning you went to the gym, right? Because you are convinced that that's good for your physical health. And in fact, it is not only good for your physical health, but there is evidence that in fact it's good also for your mood and brain health and cognition and memory. All of that is good. But we need to also give it the same kind of attention to our brain health and brain training. And we can actually do that using some of these tools that can help us to train our brain.
Thank you so much. It's very it was
pleasure.
very helpful. What about bioadditive supplements? Is there anything for?
Yeah, there are supplements that help. I'm not an expert in supplements, so I don't want to give advice about that. But there are a number of supplements that are out there that can be helpful. But again, people's system are different. These products are different, and depending on what these products are and how pure they are, the delivery system, and the that particular person's makeup and physiology, they may be a good match or not a good match. So those things one needs to really discuss with an expert and try. And sometimes it's a home run, but many times it actually doesn't quite work.
Okay. Thank you so much. And
Oh,
as I
it's my
understood, the last question is, as I understood, the Vital Neuro, your device helps with improve. So it does has program that can help with attention, right?
Absolutely. There are programs, protocols, as we call them, that actually help train brain areas, brain networks that are responsible for, the first goal of actually orientation, being present and being ready to pay attention. And there are other protocols are actually helpful for executive networks, attention, focus, and so on.
Amazing. I will put all the links in the description. Please take a look. Thank you so much. It was very, very...
My pleasure. I enjoyed talking about the topic, so thank you.
This is why you need 3H Brain in your life. It's time to revolutionize your health. 3H Brain is your ultimate guide to understanding the human brain and heart. Explore the deep connection between psychological, neurological disorders and chronic conditions. With 3H Brain, you'll discover a treasure trove of helpful information, resources, and support to help you thrive. Dive into courses that offer fresh, modern perspectives. Take tests that bring you closer to innovative solutions designed to cure and strengthen your brain and heart. 3H Brain isn't just a platform, it's a movement towards better health. Join a community that's striving for excellence and knowledge. Get inspired, stay informed, and take control of your health journey like never before. Ready for a smarter, healthier you? Discover 3H Brain today, because your brain and heart deserve the best.